Today, we're digging into the playbook of Ooredoo Kuwait. They were facing a problem that, honestly, most companies would kill to have. What on earth do you do when you've already captured your entire market? I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? For a telecom company, growth is pretty simple. Get more customers. But what happens when literally every single person who could be a customer already is? That's the tight spot Ooredoo found themselves in. So let's just paint a picture here. The telecom market in Kuwait isn't just mature, it's completely saturated. And I'm not exaggerating. We're talking about a place where pretty much every resident already has a phone. So that old school way of growing, just signing up new people, yeah, that was completely off the table. And that brings us to what you could call the growth wall. It's that point where all your usual moves, all your proven strategies, they just stop working. For Ooredoo, it must have felt like they'd slammed right into a brick ceiling. No clear way up. And to make things even trickier, it was a classic double-edged sword. It wasn't just that the market was full. Oh no. At the same time, customer expectations were going through the roof. People wanted more of everything. Faster speeds, better service, tons of data. But, and here's the kicker, they were less and less willing to pay more for it. A classic business headache. Rising demands, shrinking revenue per person. So what do you do when you're staring at a wall like that? Well, Ooredoo didn't just stand there. They got to work and drafted a brand new game plan. So let's break down their solution, which was this really clear 3-part playbook for growth. And here it is, the whole strategy in a nutshell. First, go all in on digital, but make sure the customer is at the absolute center of it. Second, shake up your product portfolio to find new ways to make money. And third, keep an iron grip on your finances. This right here is the roadmap for everything they did next. Okay, so Pillar 1 kicked off with their app, MyOoredoo. The idea was to take millions of little interactions, paying a bill, checking your data, getting support, and move them from call centers and physical stores onto this one self-service app. And this wasn't just about saving a buck. It was about making the customer's life way, way easier. Now, Pillar 2, this was a huge pivot. A total change in direction. The old game was just sell more SIM cards to regular people. The new game, go after the big fish, the enterprise sector. This meant they started offering complex digital services to other businesses, which was a completely new and much bigger playground for them. A really big piece of that enterprise puzzle was the Internet of Things, or IoT. You've probably heard of it. Just think of things like smart electricity meters that report back to the grid all on their own, or an entire company's fleet of delivery vans all connected and sending back real-time data. Ooredoo looked at this and saw a massive untapped goldmine. And this brings us to the financial tightrope they had to walk. To make all these new digital services a reality, they needed to pour a ton of money into building out a state-of-the-art 5G network. Pillar 3 was all about managing costs so incredibly tightly that they could afford this huge investment without tanking their profits, or their EBITDA, as the finance folks call it. A great strategy on paper is one thing, but actually making it happen, that's where the magic is. Execution is everything. So how did Ooredoo take this playbook and turn it into real-world action? Well, they used a very specific set of tools to get it done. Their toolkit basically had 3 key parts. First, they mapped out every single step of the customer's experience. Second, they used a smart decision matrix to make tough choices. And third, they put in a super rigorous system to review performance. These weren't just fancy buzzwords. They were the actual tools they used to drive change. So here's what that actually looked like. By mapping the customer journey, they could pinpoint exactly where people were getting frustrated with their app and then fix it. The decision matrix, they use that to pick the absolute best technology partners, like Dell, based on clear, objective criteria. And that performance framework set crystal clear targets, KPIs, so every single person knew what winning looked like. All right, so did it all work? Did the playbook actually win them the game? Let's go ahead and check the scoreboard, because this is where all that hard work really pays off. The first big number up on that board, an 8% jump in revenue in 2024. Now let that sink in. In a market where you can't get any new customers, growing your revenue by 8% is, frankly, phenomenal. It proved that growth was still on the table, you just had to find it in a different place. And that 8% wasn't just some abstract figure. To put it into perspective, it meant their total revenue hit 527 million Kuwaiti dinar.
This was a serious financial turnaround, and it was all powered by their new strategy. But, Ooredoo wasn't just chasing the money. They were also keeping a very close eye on their Net Promoter Score, or NPS. This is a super important metric that boils down to one simple question. How likely are you to recommend us to a friend? It's a direct line into how happy your customers really are.
And this is the holy grail of any business transformation. As Ooredoo streamlined their operations and their costs went down, something amazing happened. Their customer satisfaction score, their NPS, actually went up. Think about that. They found a way to make customers happier while spending less money. That's the ultimate win-win. So, what can we all learn from what Ooredoo pulled off? This story isn't just about one telecom company in Kuwait. It's packed with powerful, universal lessons for any business that's staring down a changing market. If you remember just 3 things, make it these. First, digital can't just be a department. It has to be the beating heart of your entire operation. Second, you can't do everything by yourself. Smart partnerships are like a turbo button for growth. And finally, and this might be the most important one, every dollar you save on the back end should be felt by the customer as a better experience on the front end. And that really brings us to the final question, the one for you. Ooredoo realized their old playbook was obsolete, so they wrote a new one. The question for all of us is, as our own industries and markets are constantly changing, what's our plan? What's our playbook going to be to not just get by, but to actually grow?